The fourth day began with rain. It was cold and steady, soaking Alex to the bone. The mud was thicker than before, making each step harder. His arms were tired. His back hurt. But he didn't stop. The princess lay quiet in his arms, her head resting against his shoulder. Her breathing was calm, and now and then her eyes opened. She was more awake now. She didn't speak much, but she watched him. Her eyes followed every movement he made. When he gave her water, she took it without help. When he gave her food, she ate slowly. Alex tried to speak to her sometimes, just a few words. "We're getting close. Maybe one more day." She said nothing but blinked in response. He didn't know what she thought. Maybe she still saw him as the enemy. Maybe she hated him, but she didn't ask him to stop. She didn't scream or struggle. She let him carry her. They reached a wide river by afternoon. The current was strong and the water deep. There was no bridge. He looked around, then stepped into the river slowly. The water reached his knees, then waist. He held her close, high above the water. Halfway across, he slipped. The river pulled him under. Cold water filled his nose and mouth. He kicked and fought. One arm held her tightly. The other reached for anything to hold on to. He grabbed a rock and pulled himself up. He gasped for breath, then looked at her. She was wet but safe. Her eyes were wide with shock. She looked at him for a long time. "You almost drowned," she whispered. He nodded. "But I didn't." They reached the other side. He found a small cave and started a fire. He took off her wet armor pieces and wrapped her in his dry blanket. She didn't stop him. Her hands moved slightly now, enough to hold the edge of the cloth. "What's your name?" she asked. He looked at her. "Alex?" She nodded slowly. "Alira, I know. The translator told me." She didn't speak again for a while. The fire warmed the cave. Rain fell outside, steady and soft. "Why help me, Alex?" He looked into the fire. "Because someone should," she frowned. "We are enemies. Not today. Not here." Alira didn't answer. She closed her eyes, but not to sleep. Her mind was full of thoughts. She had never known a human before. Her teacher said humans were cruel, selfish, and dangerous. But Alex was not cruel. He shared his food. He carried her through pain and danger. He saved her life. More than once. On the fifth day, they moved again. The sun came out and the jungle steamed. Birds called in the trees. Alex kept going step by step. Alira spoke more often now. She asked about Earth, about human cities, and about the war. He answered simply, "Do you hate us?" She asked. "No," he said. "I hate war. I hate killing. But I don't hate you." She was silent. They stopped for rest near a large stone wall covered in moss. Alex laid her down and sat beside her. His hand brushed hers by accident. She didn't pull away. "Your people will not forgive this," she said. "You touched royalty. That is forbidden. I didn't do it for forgiveness. I did it because it was right." She looked at him. For the first time, she smiled. It was small, but real. "You're strange, Alex. So are you." That night, they saw lights in the sky. Not starships, patrols. They were close to the outpost. Now, maybe just a few more miles. "We'll make it," he said. She nodded. Yes. He didn't sleep much. He watched the jungle and listened to the night. Alira slept, her face calm. In the morning, they moved again. He was slower now, tired and sore. But he didn't stop Dot just before noon. He saw the walls of the outpost, tall, metal, and surrounded by guards. He raised his hand, and a human soldier shouted in surprise. In moments, others ran to help, but behind the soldiers came another group. Tall, in bright armor, with crests and sharp eyes. Virellans, Alira's people. They rushed to her side, pulling her from his arms. He stumbled and fell to his knees, breathing hard. She reached for him once, but they pulled her away. A medic treated him quickly. Alira stood now, weak but proud. A Virellan officer came close. He looked at Alex with cold eyes. "He touched the princes," the officer said. "That is a crime." Alex looked up, eyes dull. He said nothing. Alira's voice was soft but firm. "Take him. Prepare him for judgment." The words cut deep. Alex didn't fight. He didn't speak. He let them take him. Alira turned her face away, but her heart was heavy. She had to follow the law, but it didn't feel right. The jungle was hot and full of danger. The leaves were thick, the ground muddy, and every step could be a trap. Alex Carter walked alone. His team was gone. They were hit hard 2 days ago, and he was the only one left alive. He had no map now, only his training and a small beacon in his pack that still blinked with a weak signal. He kept moving, one step after another. He had to reach the extraction point, but something made him stop. Smoke, thin and gray, rising behind the thick trees. To his left. It was not the kind of smoke from a fire or explosion. This was different, steady. Like a crash, he turned and followed it. What he found made him pause. A small alien pod lay crushed between 2 trees. It must have fallen from the sky. The side was cracked open. Inside, lights blinked and wires sparked. He raised his weapon slowly and stepped closer. Inside the pod was a woman. She was not human. Her skin was light blue, and her silver hair was long and tangled. She wore armor, or at least what was left of it. A chest plate with strange gold patterns. A high collar marked with a crest. She was breathing, but her eyes were closed. One leg was twisted under her, and her arms hung limp. His translator implant clicked to life. It scanned her. The voice in his ear said, "Virellan royal blood. Identity match, Princess Alira. Vital signs critical." Alex lowered his weapon. She was the enemy. The Virellans had been fighting the humans for years now. Her people had destroyed cities, killed soldiers, and civilians. But she didn't look like a threat now. He checked her injuries. One arm was broken, the leg worse. There was no way she could move on her own. He stood for a long time. He could leave. No one would blame him. But something in him said no. She was hurt. She would die here if he left her. That wasn't right. He reached into his pack and pulled out a med patch. He cleaned the worst of the wounds and used splints and claw to hold her broken limbs in place. She didn't wake up. Her breathing was shallow but steady. Then he did something even he didn't expect. He lifted her. She was light, much lighter than she looked. Her armor must have been made of something strong and light. He adjusted his grip and started walking. He had to carry her for 45 miles, through jungle, mud, and danger. He knew it would take days, but he didn't stop. That night, he found a cave and made a small fire. He gave her water drop by drop. He stayed awake most of the night, listening to the sounds outside. Animal calls, insects. Once, a group of enemy scouts passed nearby. He held his breath and kept still until they moved on. In the morning, he checked her again. Her eyes moved under her lids, but she didn't wake. He gave her more water and part of his food. Then he lifted her again and moved on. By the second day, the jungle seemed to fight him. Vines grabbed at his boots. Insects bit his skin. He slipped and fell more than once, always keeping her safe in his arms. Once, he heard a roar and had to hide behind rocks as a large beast passed by. Each step hurt. His legs burned. His arms ached, but he kept going. That evening, as he rested under a fallen tree, she stirred. Her eyes opened for a moment. They were bright violet. She blinked and looked up at him. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. "You're safe," he said. "I'm getting you help." She frowned, confused. Then her eyes closed again. Alex didn't know if she understood, but something told him she was awake now, at least a little. On the third day she spoke, just a whisper. "Why?" He looked down at her. "Because you're alive, and I couldn't leave you." She stared at him for a long time, then turned her head away. No more words, but she was awake more often now. She drank water on her own, even if her hands still didn't move. He carried her through rivers, climbed steep paths, and kept going. He never asked for thanks, never asked her name. The translator had told him who she was, but he didn't care about that dot. She was a person, and she needed help. He would get her to safety, even if it killed him. Alex sat inside a small metal room. The walls were plain, and there was one dim light above him. His hands were tied. A guard stood outside the door. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He just sat and waited. His legs were still sore. His arms ached, but more than that, his heart felt heavy. He had carried her for days. He had risked everything to save her. And now she had ordered his capture. He didn't blame her. She was a princess. Her people had rules. Maybe she didn't have a choice. He closed his eyes. He didn't want revenge. He didn't want freedom. He only wanted to know she was safe. In another part of the outpost, Alira stood in a large white room. Doctors checked her one last time. Her body had healed enough to stand and walk, though she still felt weak. Her mind, though, was not calm. She looked out the window at the jungle. The same jungle she had crossed in silence and pain. The same jungle he had carried her through. She remembered his voice, his calm hands, the way he gave her water, the way he protected her even when she had no way to thank him. He never asked her for anything. One of her guards entered. Princess, the tribunal will begin soon. The human is waiting. She nodded. They walked her to the central hall. Inside, tall Virellan leaders stood in a circle. Their faces were hard, their eyes full of judgment. The human was brought in. Alex walked with, his head high. He did not look afraid. He looked tired but strong. The lead judge spoke. Human soldier, you are charged with laying hands on royal blood without permission. Do you understand this law? Alex nodded. Yes. Do you deny the action? No. I carried her. She couldn't walk. I did what I had to do. Murmurs filled the room. The judge raised a hand for silence. Did you harm the princess in any way? No. Did you act out of greed, ambition, or desire for reward? No. I just didn't want her to die. The judge looked at Alira. Princess, do you confirm this? She stepped forward slowly. Her voice was clear. Yes. Everything he says is true. The judges whispered among themselves. Do you request punishment? The judge asked. Alira paused. Her hand shook slightly. She looked at Alex. He looked back at her calm. Double quote. She began, then stopped. Her breath caught. She remembered the fire, the storm, the river. She remembered the way he called her by name, not by title. She remembered feeling safe in his arms. No, she said. I do not. The room went silent. I ordered him taken because of the law. But I now speak not just as a princess, but as someone who owes him her life. She stepped closer. He saved me. Not for glory, not for gain. He did it because he has a good heart. If we punish that, then we are lost. The judges listened. Their eyes were serious. The lead judge spoke again. Do you ask for full forgiveness of this man? Alira nodded. Yes. I ask it with all my voice. The room was quiet for a long time. Then the judge spoke. By her words and his actions, we grant forgiveness. The human is free. Alex let out a breath. He gave a small nod, but he didn't smile. Outside, the sun was bright. Birds flew over the trees. Alex stood near the gate, ready to leave. Alira came. To him, she wore a light cloak and walked without help now. You're free to go, she said softly. I know, he said. Are you angry with me? He shook his head. No, you did what you had to do. She looked down. But it hurt you. It did, he said. But I'm glad you're safe. That's what matters. They stood in silence for a moment. Will you go back to your army? she asked. Yes, they need to know I'm alive. She looked at him with a sad smile. I will not forget what you did. He nodded. Take care, Alira. You? Too, Alex. He walked down the path. She watched him until he disappeared into the trees. Alira turned and walked back to her people. But something had changed inside her, and she knew the war would never feel the same again. Alira sat alone in her chamber. The war still continued outside, but in her heart, something had changed. Her thoughts kept going back to Alex. The way he carried her, the way he looked at her, not as a princess, but as a person. She tried to focus on reports and duties. Her people were preparing for another major battle, but her mind wandered. She remembered his quiet strength, the calm in his voice when everything else was chaos. One of her advisors entered. Princess, the council is ready. They wait for your presence. She stood and followed him. The council chamber was full. Varellan leaders sat in a circle. Maps lit. Up the table. Battle plans, troop movements, and attack lines. We are losing ground, one general said. The humans are stronger than we expected. Their tactics are strange, but effective, another added. Alira listened. Her eyes went to the map. A large red line showed the front. It moved closer to their core world's everyday. She stood. Perhaps we need a new approach. The room turned to her. We have tried force. We have tried fear. But we do not understand the humans. We judge them based on old stories. The generals frowned. You speak as if you admire them, one said. I do not admire war, she replied. But I respect the man who saved me. He was not what we were taught to expect. One man does not change the truth, another snapped. No, she said calmly, but one man can open our eyes. They said nothing more, but the air was heavy with silence. Far from the Varellan camp, Alex returned to his unit. They were shocked to see him alive. He gave a short report, skipping the part about the princess. His captain, a tall woman named. Laura Green looked at him with sharp eyes. You helped a royal? Carried her? He nodded. That's not in the rule book, Carter. No, ma'am, but it was the right thing to do. She watched him for a moment, then nodded. You're a strange man, Carter. But we need more like you. Alex was sent back to the front. He fought hard like before, but something inside him was different. He looked at the enemy lines and wondered if Alira was somewhere behind them. Weeks passed. Then one day, a message arrived. Not from command. Not from Earth, but from the VIRLANS. It was coded. But Alex's name was on it. Captain Green called him in. This came through channels I don't trust, but it's not a trap. It's a meeting request. From her, Alex didn't ask who. He already knew. He traveled under escort to a neutral zone. It was a quiet valley between two hills. No weapons, no soldiers. Just him and her. Alira stood by a tree. She wore light armor, but her helmet was off. Her silver hair fell over her shoulders. You came? She said. I had to, he said. They stood in silence for a moment. Birds chirped. The wind moved through the grass. I wanted to see you, she said. Not just to thank you again. I wanted to speak to you as a person. Then let's do that. They sat on a stone. She looked at the hills. My people are proud. Too proud. They will fight until there is nothing left. Humans are not so different, Alex said. But maybe we can. Find a better way? She turned to him. Would you help me? Not as a soldier, not as an enemy, but as a friend. Help me understand your people. He nodded. I'd like that. They talked for hours. About Earth, about Virella, about small things like food and music. They laughed a little. They sat close, but not too close. Respect stayed between them. When it was time to leave, she stood. First, this meeting must remain secret, at least for now. I understand, he said, but I will find a way to meet again. He smiled. I'll be waiting. She walked away into the trees. He watched her until she was gone. That night, Alex looked up. At the stars, the war had not ended. The fighting would go on, but something new had started. Hope. Alira stood at the window of her private quarters. Outside, the sky was dark, and the moons of her homeworld were rising. Light wind moved the curtains. Her people believed in strength. They believed in pride and tradition. But those things had not saved them from this long war. She closed her eyes and remembered the secret meeting with Alex. His voice, his words, his honesty. No one in her court knew about that meeting. If they did, some would call her a traitor. But something inside her had changed. She could not stop thinking about what he had said. That peace was not weakness. That kindness was not surrender. She had started to believe him. A knock at the door broke her thoughts. It was Commander Varlas, one of her most trusted guards. Princess, the council wants your opinion on the next strike. Tell them I will be there soon, she said. When she arrived in the council room, the air was full of anger and fear. Maps showed the latest human push into Varellan space. Losses were high. Some of her people were calling for full-scale attacks on human colonies. Alira listened. Then she raised her hand. We need to think clearly, she said. Every attack we make, they answer with two. Every time we take ground, we lose more of our people. So, what do you suggest, Princess? A general asked. That we surrender? No, she said calmly. I suggest we talk. The room went silent. Talk to the humans? Yes, not all of them are monsters. I know this, they argued. They shouted, but she stood firm. Finally, she said, if you do not want peace, then I will find it without you. That night, she sent a message. Hidden. Secret. Just like before. Alex received the message 2 days later. He read the words and felt his chest tighten. She wanted to meet again. This time, not just to talk. She wanted to start something greater. He met her at the same place in the quiet valley. She was already there, wearing a dark cloak. You took a risk coming here, she said. So did you. They sat on the same stone. I want to end this war, she said. I do too, Alex replied. But it won't be easy. My people trust power, not peace. And mine trust proof. Then we give them proof, she said. We build something new. Together they came up with a plan. A small mission. A test. Varellan and human soldiers would work together to save a group of trapped civilians on a ruined moon. It was risky, dangerous, but if they could do it, both sides would see the value of peace. Alira took the plan to her most loyal allies. Most refused. But a few agreed, quietly. Carefully, Alex did the same. Captain Green was one of the few who believed him. You're brave, Carter, she said. Or maybe foolish, but I'll back you. The mission was set. A week later, on a quiet morning, 2 small ships flew toward the moon. One was human, the other Varellan. Each carried a team. Alira and Alex were both on board. They landed under fire. The moon's surface was broken and full of danger. They moved fast, side by side. Varellan soldiers watched human backs. Humans shared food and water. They reached the shelter where the civilians were hiding. A group of mixed species, scared and hungry. Alira knelt beside a small alien child and gave her water. Alex helped carry the injured. For the first time in years, soldiers from both sides worked as one. When they returned, the news spread fast. Some called it a lie. Others called it a miracle. But something had started. A small fire of hope. Lira stood in front of her people and told them the truth. She spoke of Alex. She spoke of the journey through the jungle. She spoke of courage. Not just in battle, but in kindness. Some turned away, but many listened. Alex did the same. He told his story to his leaders. He faced questions, doubts, and even threats. But he didn't stop. They both knew the path would be long. The war would not end overnight, but they had taken the first real step. and now others were ready to follow. Weeks passed since the mission on the ruined moon. The success of that rescue spread through quiet whispers and hidden messages. Both sides still fought, but some hearts were beginning to change. Not all soldiers wanted to kill. Some began to hope that peace was possible. Alex continued his duties. He trained new recruits, helped repair damaged stations, and kept his head down. But every night, he checked his messages, hoping for one from Alira. They had not spoken since the mission. He missed her voice. One evening, a new message came. Simple words. We need to meet. Important. He left that night with a small escort. The same quiet valley waited. This time, he arrived first. Lyra came later, dressed in a light gray suit. Her face was calm, but her eyes were tired. Something happened, she said as she sat beside him. What is it? The council is dividing. Some support me. Some are afraid, and a few want to remove me. Alex frowned. You're in danger? Not yet, but soon. They say I've become too soft, that I trust the enemy too much. He looked at her closely. What do you want me to do? She hesitated. Then she said, I need you to stand with me, not as a soldier, as a voice. A human who saw the war and still chose peace. Alex nodded. Whatever you need is a gathering soon. A summit, Varellan leaders, human diplomats, and a few neutral parties. If you speak there, maybe they'll listen. He took a deep breath. I'll do it. They parted again, each returning to their own world. But this time, there was no silence. Their names began to rise in conversations. Whispers grew louder. Some called them traitors. Others called them heroes. The day of the summit came. The meeting was held on a floating station between both territories. Armed guards lined the walls. Leaders from many worlds filled the hall. Alira entered first. Her steps were strong. Her words ready. Alex entered soon after. He wore a simple uniform, no weapons, no medals. Just honesty in his eyes. Alira stood before the group. We have fought for years. We have lost lives, homes, and hope, but I am here to offer something else. A different future. One where our children don't grow up afraid. Many looked away. Some stared in silence, but she did not stop. I was saved by a human. He carried me, cared for me, and never asked for anything in return. That man is here. Let him speak. Alex stepped forward. He looked around at the room full of leaders and soldiers. Some faces were cold, some curious. My name is Alex Carter. I'm not a hero. I'm not a leader. I'm just a man who saw someone in need and helped. I didn't care if she was alien or royal. She was hurt, and I did what I thought was right. He paused. We fight because we fear each other, because we think the other side won't stop unless we make them. But what if that's wrong? What if we both just want peace but don't know how to ask for it? The room was quiet. I don't have all the answers, he said, but I know this. I carried a princess through a jungle, and now I stand beside her, not as an enemy, but as a friend. If we can do that, maybe there's hope for the rest of us. When he finished, the room remained silent. Then someone stood, a human admiral, then a Varellan elder. Others followed. No one shouted. No one left. Later that night, in a private room, Alira sat across from Alex. You did well, she said. So did you. She smiled. A small, tired smile. We're not done yet, but today was a good step. He leaned back in his chair. You think the council will back off? Some will. Some won't. But now the people have seen us together. That matters. They sat in silence for a while. Then she said, Alex, do you think about that jungle sometimes? All the time, he said. So do I? That journey changed me. It changed me too. She reached across the table and touched his hand, just for a second. I'm glad you didn't leave me, she said softly. I never could. Outside, stars moved slowly across the black sky. Inside, two people from different worlds sat together, no longer strangers. They knew the path ahead would still be hard, but they would walk it together. Months passed after the summit. The war did not end at once, but change had begun. Some battles still happened, but fewer than before. Peace talks became more common. Small teams of humans and Varellans started working together in quiet places. It was not perfect, but it was progress. Alira continued to lead her people with care and strength. Some still doubted her. Others supported her more each day. She traveled to different cities, spoke to soldiers, and listened to families. She always told the story of the jungle, of the human who saved her when he had no reason to. Alex became a symbol as well. He was not a general, not a leader in the army, but his name was known. Soldiers asked to meet him. Young recruits wanted to hear his story. He stayed humble, always saying he just did what felt right out one day. He received a new message from Alira. It said only, "Come visit." He arrived at the Varellan capital 2 days later. It was the first time a human soldier had been welcomed there without guards or weapons. People stared, but no one stopped him. Alira waited for him in a garden full of glowing trees. Her dress was simple, her smile real. "You came," she said. "I always will," he replied. They walked through the garden. Flowers opened under the light of the twin suns. Birds sang strange but beautiful songs. "Things are changing," she said. "Because of you," Alex said. "Because of us," she corrected. "But change is not easy. Some still want war. They think peace is weakness. They'll learn." She looked at him. "Will you stay a while?" "As long as you need." You stayed in the capital for weeks. He helped train Varellan peacekeepers. He spoke at schools and to leaders. Slowly, trust began to grow. Where once there was fear, now there was curiosity. One night, Alira invited him to a small dinner with her closest advisors. They shared food, stories, and even laughter. It was the kind of evening that once seemed impossible. After the guests left, Alex and Alira walked outside. The stars were bright. "Do you ever think about the first day we met?" she asked. "All the time," he said. "You were so still. I thought you wouldn't make it. And I thought you were going to kill me," she said. "But you didn't. You carried me instead." He looked at her. "That day changed everything." She stepped closer. "You showed me what honor truly means. And you showed me that even in war, there can be grace." There was silence for a while. "Alex," she said softly, "what do you want now?" He thought about it. About the war, the pain, the people they had lost. Then he looked at her. "I want peace. And I want to stand beside you while we build it." She smiled, not just with her lips, but with her eyes. "Then stay. Not as a guest, not as a visitor. Stay as part of what we build." He nodded. "I will." In the months that followed, the peace grew stronger. Treaties were signed. Trade began between once enemy worlds. Mixed crews worked on ships. Mixed teams walked planets that had once been battlefields. Elira and Alex stood together through it all. They became more than symbols. They became leaders of a new era, but they never forgot where it started. Not in a throne room or a council hall. It started in the mud, in the rain, in a jungle where one human carried one alien princess for 45 miles. And because of that one act of kindness, the stars began to change. The galaxy remembered not the war, but the walk.